Hello everybody, welcome to Truth Me Free. I'm Nathan Wheeler, and this is video number 2 of the series I'm calling my Testimonial. I'm just gonna jump right into this. I really need you to watch the first video, you guys, before you watch this one. This is number 2. Please watch number 1. Do not skip videos. Do not watch half of these videos or fast forward anything, because there's going to be very important details that I'm going to say that will be needed to understand something in a later video. Okay, so just do me that favor if you're watching these this series especially. Alright, so to get right into it, I told you that the first thing you're going to be hearing in this story is about the first time I physically saw God. I was 5 years old, and I was just playing out in my front yard in Mira Mesa, San Diego, California. And on the street that I lived, it ran east to west, and then there was a cross street. The cross street of it, because we lived right on the corner, ran north to south, like perfectly east to west, perfectly north to south, okay? And one day I was sitting just playing in the front yard, no big deal, and all of a sudden I had this weird feeling that I should look up to the sky. The same kind of just weird feeling when I had that kind of voice in my head that said, Nate, you need to pack your bags and go to the ER. Same kind of situation. And I looked up to the sky, and in the distance I saw a brown cloud. And this brown cloud was moving literally like right down the street. It was following the line of the street that ran north and south. And this cloud comes and, is like over me. Not directly over me, but over me to the point where it's, at an angle, ahead. I would say it's probably about 100 yards in the air, and it was probably 30 to 40 feet in diameter, okay? And as I'm seeing this cloud, trust me, I know how I sound, okay? As I'm seeing this cloud, I see Jesus sitting on a throne with 2 angels to the side of him. Now, what's weird is that I had a feeling that God was on the cloud. So immediately I'm full of confusion. And here's why I'm confused. One, I feel God's on the cloud, yet I see what looks like Jesus. This confuses me because I'm like, well, am I seeing the Son of God as I was told it is in church, or am I seeing God? I didn't know what to think. I didn't know how to respond. I didn't know what to call it. What do I call it? Jesus? Do I call it God? I didn't want to offend it. I was kind of freaking out. I'm like, if I say God, he's like, I'm not God, I'm Jesus. And I'm like, oh no. Or if he's going to be like, Jesus, he's like, I'm God. I'm like, oh shoot. I didn't know. Literally, I had this thought. What do I say? Plus, I didn't know what to say because what the hell was happening, right? The other thing was that confused the daylights out of me is, why is the cloud brown? And when I say brown, I'm talking like, you ever seen a tractor like do one of those farts where it's like, and then like a brown cloud comes out of the, the exhaust pipe? It was that color brown, like a nasty, smoggy color brown, okay? And I'm sitting there looking at it, I'm like, this is not at all. Well, I don't even know what's happening. I'm thinking to myself, this is not at all what I was told in Sunday school and in cartoons that, is the picture that is painted. I'm thinking big, bright, white clouds, sun blazing behind him and streaking through, and that wasn't what was happening at all. So I'm looking at this brown cloud, and I'm seeing this, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, what do I do? He wasn't saying anything. He was just sitting there, hanging out. Nothing was being said. It was kind of awkward. So it travels south from the north, stops right kind of adjacent, anglized in front of me, and I'm waiting. And I don't know what to do. So basically, being a kid, I did the only thing that kind of made sense to me. I got down and I began to pray, and I made a wish. Because, you throw a coin in the well, you make a wish. You break the wishbone at Thanksgiving, you make a wish. You get the eyelash, you do the finger thing, blow, you make a wish. You see a shooting star, you make a... Exactly. So I did the only thing I know how to do. I see freaking God on a cloud. I'm thinking maybe this is when you're supposed to make a wish. So I began to pray. And guess what I prayed? Well, if you saw the first video, as you should be, if you did not, do not watch any more of this. Go back and watch the first video. What did I pray? I said, God, please, if I am a good enough boy, grant me one wish. And that one wish would be that I will never die. Because I do not believe in heaven and I do not believe in hell. So please do not allow me to die in this life. I don't want to die. And I opened up my eyes and I looked up, and the cloud was just sitting there. And I waited. And I waited. And he didn't say anything. Then all of a sudden, the cloud started to drift the exact way it came. right north. It went right back up the street north, the direction it came. And you can imagine my disappointment. Not only am I confused because I don't know what I'm seeing, I feel God is sitting on the throne, but I see what looks like Jesus. And I'm not talking blue-eyed, that Jesus. There was just a beard, a man, 30s. I understood that that was what Jesus looked like. He's not saying anything. Am I in trouble? Did I say the wrong thing? Did I offend him? What did I say, right? So I actually got really concerned. I got worried that I did something wrong. So I'm kind of like moping, realizing he didn't answer my wish. He didn't answer my prayer to live forever. So once again, I realized I'm going to die. So I start kind of moping real slowly to my house, and I'm going to go back into the house, and I'm going to ask my mom about the experience I just had and what it means. I'm hoping she knows. And as I'm walking back, I hear God say to me, this is, by the way, in the future I will always reference, this is probably the riddle that God spoke over me, okay? It's the only time that God ever spoke to me where I didn't have understanding, okay? Because, like I said, God is not a God of confusion. But this particular thing was for me to figure out over the course of my life, okay? I call it the riddle. He said this to me. He said, you will lead the people to a place they normally would not go. A place they would normally not allow themselves to go, but they will follow you because of who you are. What does that mean? I'm asking, please allow me to live forever if I'm a good enough boy, and that gets said back to me? That has nothing to do with what I just prayed. And now I have an additional confusion added to me. I'm just like, what does, how will I ever know that? How will I ever know what that means? I didn't find the answer. I didn't know the answer 100% with certainty until 30 years later. 29 years to be exact. I'm 34. So, do the math. I was 5. I'm 34 now, 29 years later. That means I probably got the answer when you're right, when I died, went up to paradise, and came back. Okay? That's how long it took me to get the answer to that riddle. Right? So, and you'll get the answer. You gotta stay tuned. So, here I am with this riddle, and I'm wondering, what does this mean? But I held it in my head, and you can bet that I cherished it, and I was always wondering and seeking for the answer. I always wanted to know, what does that mean? About 6 months later, I was watching Robin Williams at the Met on HBO. So that means it was 1984, which means I was 5 years old. Yes, I know, I told you my age. That's fine. We'll all get past that together, okay? So here I am watching Robin Williams, and I notice something. A light bulb goes on. Bing! Right? And I'm like, holy crud. Look what he's doing. He's taking people through this emotional roller coaster. He's taking people to emotional places, right? They pay him to take them to an emotional place where they're sad, where maybe they're angry, where they're happy. And I'm thinking to myself, people never want to be sad. People never desire to be sad, except for when they go to see a movie or watch a TV show or go see a performance, an entertainer. Then they pay the entertainer to take them through an emotional experience, a place they normally would not allow themselves to go. Do you see how I'm putting these pieces together? So I stand to my feet and I walk towards the TV and just absolute awe. And I'm walking up to the TV and I'm like, does Robin Williams have any idea what he's doing? Is this a conscious choice? Is this something he's aware of? Is he doing this intentionally? And as I'm asking myself this question, the end of the act comes. And he takes this hour-long special of laughter to almost like a cry. The audience, you can just sense the energy of the auditorium is ready to cry at any moment. And all of a sudden he pretends to be his son. He's pantomiming and being his son. And with 2 words, he brings the audience back to a laughter. But not just a normal laughter. A laughter that's filled with sadness. That only proved to me even more that Robin Williams knew exactly what he was doing. And it only proved even more about this idea that I was having. And those 2 words is he lifts his hands up and he says, F it. Of course he doesn't say F, he says the word. He says, F it. And he walks off stage. as his son holding the dad hand, and he walks off stage. And it blew my mind. I was like, I knew exactly what was going on. And then I heard God's voice once again. And he said, "This is how you'll do it." That's all he said. But I had understanding. I was going to be performing for people. I was going to be speaking to people. I took it as I was going to be an actor making movies. I didn't take it as I was going to be doing stand-up comedy, but I took it as I'm going to be in the entertainment business. Okay? I found out later that wasn't the correct interpretation. But it was obviously part of God's plan for me to interpret it that way, because I ended up getting into the entertainment industry, which still led me to this day to make this video to be talking to you now. Okay, so it was all part of God's will, but that wasn't the definition he had in mind. So I had that experience, and I held that with me, and now I had two things that governed every choice of my life. They were the foundation of all the choices that I made from there on out. The first one was the oath I made in God at the church, which you saw in the last video. Then it was this thing that now I'm supposed to become an actor and get into movies. Why did I think about the actor getting into the movies? Because the sentence where he says they will follow you because of who you are. I'm thinking I'm nobody now. I live in normal city, town America. I'm nobody. My family's not rich. They're not famous. They're not powerful. They're not politicians. We're just a normal, all-American family. We're nothing special. So I realized I had to become something. I had to become somebody to the world, like Robin Williams was somebody to the world. He was talking about politics. He was talking about his opinions and family. And he wasn't just being funny. He was telling people how to live through this comedy routine. He was telling people how to interact with their children. And the audience was listening. They were open to the ideas that he had. He was somebody to them. His opinion mattered. So that's why I took all these things this way. As you can see, I interpreted and applied the thing that was spoken over me, along with "this is how you'll do it," and I put the pieces together myself. So now another thing happened at this house that was pretty interesting that I want to share with you. This is about the age where my spiritual gifts began to develop. And one of the first things that developed, I don't know exactly what it was, but all I know is I would dream something, and exactly as I dreamed it, it would come true. And I dreamed that I met a boy that lived around the corner from me, and exactly everything that I did, I perceived in the dream. I ended up going to my mom and I said, "Mom, can I go and play with Steven?" She's like, "Who's Steven?" I was like, "You know, Beanie." That was the nickname his parents gave him because that was his uncle's name and that was his middle name, Beanie. So I said, "Can I go play with Beanie?" She's like, "Who's Beanie? I don't know that you have any friends named Beanie." And I'm like, "Yeah, the kid around the corner, you know. Didn't you meet him?" And she's like, "No." And I was like, "Well, can I go play with him? He just lives right around the corner." She's like, "Is it far?" And I'm like, "No, he lives right around the corner." She's like, "Okay, but I want you to go over there and I want you to call me." I was like, "Okay." So I go around the corner, I knock on his door, his mom answers the door wearing the exact same thing she wore the last time I was at the house. And I'm thinking, well, that might not be that weird. Maybe she just wears the same thing. Who knows? Then her son comes to the door. He's wearing the exact same thing he wore the last time I saw him. And he came running up the exact way. And I said, "Hey, can you play?" And he goes, "Sure." He invites me into his room. So he's showing me all these things. It was just his birthday, I think just 2 days or 3 days before. And he's showing me all the toys that he got for his birthday. And as he's telling me this, I'm getting annoyed because I'm like, "You already showed me all your toys. You already told me all this." And I start interrupting him and I start telling him, "Yeah, you got the bed from your parents. It was a bed that was a tent. You got the bear from your uncle. And your favorite toy is your stuffed animal Gizmo," because he loved Gremlins and his favorite thing in the world was Gizmo. And he just looked at me like totally tripped out, like, "What? How do you know these things?" And I'm like, "I was here just like the other day. You already told me all this." Now, if his birthday was just 1 or 2 days before, and I say I was here just the other day, that means I was probably there on his birthday, and that would mean that kids were around, or I was there the day after his birthday. You think he would have remembered meeting me and all this. That was when a light bulb went on, and I realized I had dreamed all this. Now, there's another thing I need to tell you about young me. You're thinking, well, how do you know you didn't just make these things up? How do you know you weren't just a little kid who was imagining this. Actually, that's exactly what I thought. I thought I was a little kid just imagining these things. I was like, maybe I just thought that I dreamed this. But how did I know that his favorite toy was a gizmo? How did I know that his uncle gave him that giant bear that was as tall as we were? He didn't finish the sentence. I cut him off and I finished it for him because, like I said, I was annoyed. How did I know that? You don't make that up. You know because you know. Do you get what I'm saying? Well, there was another thing at the same age at this house that was also rather strange. I was walking home from school one day, and yes, I walked home by myself. My mom met me at the corner that was about a quarter of a mile away from my school. I was 5 years old, 6 years old, whatever kindergarten or preschool, or not preschool, but kindergarten was at an elementary school, however old a kid is. My birthday's in June, so my birthday always, I was the youngest always in my class. And so I'm walking down the street, and this Firebird pulls up, this black Firebird, and a guy who is total, like, cut off tank top, sleeve showing, tattoos, he rolls up. He's got long hair, and he rolls up, and he says, "Hey, what's your name, man?" And I was just like, "Nathan?" He's like, yeah, Nathan." He's like, "Hey, your mom, man, she got sick. She's in the hospital, man, and your dad's there waiting for you." He's like, "Yeah, I'm supposed to pick you up and take you. We gotta go. Come on, quick, jump in the car." And all of a sudden, I hear this voice in my head that says, "He's lying. He's lying. You don't know this guy. Your parents don't associate with this man. Do not get in the car with him." And then it said, "Tell him to give you the password." And I'm thinking, what are you talking about, password? And the voice in my head said, "Pretend that your mom and your dad and you have this password, and the password is rainbow." And I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking to myself, if the guy tells me the password's rainbow, I'm going to be like, okay, cool. I guess maybe I should trust him, right? So I said, "Oh yeah, man, absolutely, no problem." I was like, "But my mom and dad, we have a password. What's the password?" And he goes, "What? What do you mean?" I was like, "Yeah, there's a password for, like, case you have to come pick me up like this. My family has a password. What's a password that my mom would give you?" He goes, "No, man, she didn't give me time to give me no password." He's like, "Just get in the car, get in the car." I was like, No, I can't get in the car with you. I'll get grounded. I'll get in trouble if I get in the car with you. You have to know the password." So I just started walking, and I got freaked out at this moment because I realized something was really, really wrong. So I start walking, I just start walking really fast, and the guy was following me with the freaking car, and he's like, "Get in the car." And I'm like, oh, this is a really bad situation. But it was a major street. It was like a 3-lane street, like really, really busy street. And thank God he didn't jump out and grab me, and he just got pissed off, and he cursed at me, and he took off. Now, I don't even know if I told my mom about this, because I was kind of just freaked out about it. I didn't know if I'd get in trouble or what. So about a month and a half later or so, I was walking down the street again, and the same dude comes and he pulls over to the side of the road. And now I already know that he doesn't know the password. I already remember that he's not a good guy, and he's not somebody my mom sent. And he goes, "Hey, man," he's like, "Hey." He's like, "Get in the car." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, get in the car." He's like, "You need to come with me. It's important. It's an emergency." I was like, "No, man, I'm not going to get in the car with you. You don't know the password." He's like, "Beep, beep, beep, password. You beep, 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 get in the car." I'm like, "No." And so I just started running with my little backpack and, and I'm running down the street trying to run away from the guy, and he took off again. I never saw him again, but obviously this was a pretty scary thing, right? Thank God I never saw him again. Thank God he didn't jump out and grab me. But that voice spoke to me again. Now, how would I possibly have known to do that? Well, later on, ironically enough, they started teaching to do that in my school. Literally like a week after the second time happened, they began to teach us how to do that in the class, in our school. So to me, that was kind of like what the voice spoke to me, or I perceived the future of a lesson I was going to learn in school. Do you get what I mean? Either way, both the way that I met my friend in a dream and the way that I was able to know how to do this, and how I knew in my mind and in my heart that this was a bad guy and I wasn't supposed to get in the car with him. These were things that I began to go, okay, this is like when God's talking to me. Now, I was actually having conversations with God, not at these intense moments, but just casually, like how you would talk to your friends, or you would be playing with your friends and you would have conversations. Whenever I was playing, I didn't have an imaginary friend like some kids do. I was talking to God, and sometimes he would talk back, and other times I just felt like he was just there smiling at me, and that was enough for me, okay? Now, I know I'm going to get the question, "Nathan, how do you know that what you heard was God?" Well, sometimes very, very, very rare I would hear the audible voice of God. And it was usually like a very important thing. Other times, it's like the inner voice in your head, but it's not your voice. It always comes with a sensation that it's something external of yourself, and it always comes with understanding. Every single time, it always comes with understanding. Like I said, except for the one time, which was my riddle. It always comes with a full understanding. Like, this guy is not your friend. This guy is not friends with your mom and your dad. Do not get in the car with him. I understood. There was no questioning about it. I understood. Do you get what I mean? So, that was how you always know, I always knew what was of God and what was my inner thought. Because I can have inner thoughts and not have understanding all day long. So, all this being said, right, now you have a little bit of an understanding of what my life was like, what my childhood was like, what my experiences of perceiving the world and how I was perceiving it and the experiences I was having were going down at this young age, okay? Then there was another moment that I had about the same age. So I'm going to try to stick with ages here, okay, in this video. And this is the last story I'm going to tell for this video. And that was the day that I was swimming in my grandmother's pool, and I was sleeping on one of those bed rafts, right, on the pool in the deep end. And I had a ring around me, and I didn't have the arm floaties on. I just had the ring around me, and I fell asleep. And my brother was playing in the shallow end, and my mom was inside watching TV. Now, this was before, remember that I'm saying this was before the TiVo days and the VHS days where you would record your TV shows. Why I'm telling you that is that people did not get up in the middle of their TV shows. They basically waited till commercial. Nobody would get up in the middle of the show because they realized that if they got up in the middle of the show and left, they'd miss the show. They'd have to wait for it to rerun a month later. Do you get what I'm saying? So, there I am sleeping in the backyard, in the pool, on the raft with my floaty ring on. And my brother's playing in the shallow end. I fall asleep. I roll over, not knowing I'm on a raft in a pool. I roll over and I fall through the ring, and the wakes of my fall into the pool push the raft and the ring away. So I have nothing to grab onto. I'm 5 years old, about 5.5 years old at this point, and I cannot swim. And I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? I know that my brother is at the shallow end because he was there when I fell asleep. So I know he's there, and he's a very strong swimmer. He could jump in and save me. I wasn't worried at all about that. So there was a calm to me. So I'm sitting there waiting for my brother to jump in and save me, but he doesn't. I hear a voice instead from outside of the pool saying, okay, Nathan, okay, here's what you're going to do. Listen to me. Listen to me. I need you to kick your feet like you're riding your tricycle. So I start doing that. I start kicking my feet. And then all of a sudden it says, okay, now do the same things with your hands. Just move your hands in the same way you're moving your feet. Like paddle like a dog, like you're in the water. Just paddle like a dog. So I'm dog paddling vertically through the water. Completely submersed under, but I'm dog paddling in the water. Now, the reason why I wasn't in complete panic was because my older brother was the kind of guy who would kind of do that kind of thing where he'd push you in the pool and be like, learn to swim or sink and die. Like, he was just that kind of guy, right? So I'm thinking he's just giving me tough love and he's going to teach me the hard way how to swim. But, you know, if I was in there too long, he would jump in and save me. Like, I was confident that he would do that. So I'm getting close to the wall. He's telling me, the voice is telling me, you're getting close to the wall, you're getting close. That's great, that's great. Now you're right at the wall. Now here's what I want you to do. I want you to kick as hard as you can, stick your hand straight up, and just grab the ledge and pull yourself out. So I start kicking and kicking and kicking, and I you know how the ledge on a pool kind of comes out a little bit? I just couldn't get my fingers over the ledge to pull myself up. I couldn't lift high enough. And so all of a sudden it says, kick as hard as you can. Just one really good kick. So I kicked the freaking wall. I thought I broke my foot, and it pushed me back out to the middle of the pool. Now I'm in pain. I want to scream, so I really want to take a gulp of air. Not only that, but I've been under for a while. I can't scream. My foot feels like it's broken, and I'm freaking floating in the middle of the pool still, and like things are starting to get kind of crazy. I can feel the pain. I'm starting to freak out. I really just want him to jump in and save me. I can't understand why he hasn't done this yet. And the voice goes quiet. I'm not hearing anything now. And I'm thinking to myself, where are you? Jump in the pool and save me already. Then all of a sudden, the voice says, okay, kick as hard as you can, Nate. Just kick as hard as you can again and just put your arms straight up. But I know I'm in the middle of the pool. And he's not telling me to grab a ledge. He's just saying, put your arms straight up in the air. And I'm thinking, how is this going to help me? But I do it. I stick my hand straight up and I'm kicking as hard as I can, and I'm starting to lose it. I'm starting to go black, right? And all of a sudden, I hear this splash. And then somebody grabs me, and then they pull me up out of the water. I find out it's my mom. I take a deep breath of air, and I'm bawling my eyes out. And I think I'm gonna freaking die. She's like, it's okay, you're okay. Oh my god, what happened to the... I was like, I was sleeping on the raft, I fell into the pool, and the ring moved away, and I'm telling her the story. And then she's like, you're okay now, just breathe, honey. She's consoling me and holding me. And then I'm crying, I'm just bawling. I'm not looking, I can't see anything, I'm just bawling my eyes out, thinking I'm gonna die. And I'm sitting there and I start yelling at my mom. I'm like, why didn't Jason just jump in and save me? My older brother's name is Jason. Why didn't Jason just jump in and save me? Why was he yelling at me the whole time? Why didn't he just jump in and save me? She goes, what? She, looks at me. She's like, what are you saying? And I'm like, Jason, why was he yelling at me, teaching me how to swim? Why didn't he just jump in and save me? And she's like, what are you talking about? Jason's upstairs in the shower. And we both turn and we look in the backyard and there's nobody in the backyard with us. Right? My mom ends up telling me that she was upstairs watching TV, and in the middle of her show, she had this strange urge to look at her coffee. When she looked at the coffee, she had a strange urge to take her half-filled cup of coffee downstairs to the kitchen sink and pour it down the kitchen sink. In the middle of her show. A woman in the 1980s, early 1980s, is not going to get up in the middle of the show. She's going to wait for commercial. But this overwhelming sensation motivated her to take the cup of coffee, go downstairs, and pour it down the sink. Right as she was pouring the coffee down the sink, she saw two little hands go straight up out of the water. She drops the mug, runs out, dives in the pool, and saves me. I knew right then and there, she told me the story, that it was an angel. It was God. I believe it was an angel because of the way the voice sounded. It didn't sound like God's audible voice. It sounded like an angel, an angelic kind of voice. That's the only way I can describe it. I believe it was an angel who literally was working this whole thing to save my life. So, that's all the stories for video number 2 of my testimonial. I hope you guys enjoyed those stories, and I hope that you will stay tuned. Please do not watch these videos out of sequence. It is important that you watch them in the sequence and you watch them in their entirety, because I'm going to reference back to the details of the stories I'm telling you in future videos, and it will tie everything together to the moment of actually me sitting here today on Thanksgiving making these videos for you now. It all is one story that God has written, not me. Obviously, He tells the best stories. So thank you for watching. Give this a thumbs up. Leave your comments. Post this on your friend's wall. Let me know what you guys think of the testimonials so far. And remember, ye shall know the truth, and it shall set you free. I'm Nathan Wheeler. Thank you for watching. God bless.